Today we're going to talk about propagating Aeoniums. Now we've got this magnificent specimen here and we're going to propagate from it. It's very easy to propagate from Aeoniums, and often we have the situation where we're going to exhibitions and we take the Aeoniums with us, and unfortunately some of the spikes, some of the branches fall off, and so we immediately propagate them and grow new ones. So it's very easy to do, and we're just going to go through what to do. So you need a sharp pair of secateurs. You're going to also need some pots to pot them into, and you're going to need some compost and either some vermiculite or some grit. We've got both because we've got to make a very free draining compost mix for the Aeoniums. They don't want to be too dry. And Aeoniums do really well in a cold frame, in a mini greenhouse. They like that protection, not being too wet. And this one, I think, is probably only just over a year old and grown magnificently during the year. So the first thing to do is try and select some branches to cut off. So generally, when I'm trying to do this, I just try and work out which ones are relatively loose anyway, because when I'm transporting them from exhibition to exhibition, then I know which ones are going to come off. We're at the end of the season now, so I'm not too worried about what this plant's going to look like. For next year we'll have some new ones for them. So I've selected this one here, and the first thing I'm going to do with a sharp pair of secateurs is cut the branch off. So I'm going to do a couple, so we'll cut that one off, and I think we'll choose that one down there. So cut them off cleanly, then there's not too much trauma for the plant. I'm just going to move that out of the way over there. So ideally, once you've cut these off, you want to leave them a few days so that the ends get calloused. In fact, I'm just going to cut that off a little bit better so it's a nice clean cut. So what you want is the ends here to dry up and callus up. That reduces any disease problems. That being said, we're often having to plant them up because they've been damaged at a show, and we don't have time to do that. And in our experience, we haven't noticed many problems just cutting them straight off and putting them straight into the compost. So that's what we're going to do, because I don't think you want to wait a couple of days for me to let those callus off. So we've got a couple of pots here. What we're going to do is we're going to make a mix of compost. So I've got general compost here, and I've got some vermiculite. So I'm just going to mix the vermiculite in just to give us a very light mix, free draining mix. You don't need to worry anything like fertilizers in there. They're quite happy on a not very fertile soil at all. In fact, I was in the Isles of Scilly earlier this year, and basically they just grow like weeds in the Isles of Scilly, and they even sell dry stone wall. I think it was an abandoned house made of the local stone, and they were coming out of all the cracks of the wall. So they'll grow pretty much anywhere. So we're just going to fill the pot up with the vermiculite and compost mix. Fill it up so it's probably about an inch from the top, because you're just going to put it in. What we are going to do though is just going to tamp that down just gently so it's not too loose, and then it really is just a case of just pushing them in. Now obviously they're quite bent, but don't worry too much about that, and don't worry that it's going to sort of bend over the edge, because as with most things in nature, they'll sort themselves out. That one's a little bit crooked. I'm just going to pop it in the middle, and we'll leave it to its own devices. As I say, it'll sort itself out. Now what you can do if you want to have a nice display, what you can do is get some grit, and you can just put the grit over the top. Makes it look nice, and also is adding to that easy draining layer. So we'll pop pop some on there, pop some on there. Very simple. I won't say anyone can grow them, but pretty much if you've got any green fingered skills at all, then Aeoniums can be grown on. So I will water those in just to give them a little bit of moisture, but the Aeoniums don't need a lot of water. In fact, the worst thing you can do is have them too wet. So I'll water them in and then I'll leave them, and I might check them in a week or so's time. If I think it's rather dry, then I will water a bit more, but don't let them get too wet, and they will grow on, and we will have some lovely new Aeonium plants ready to display with our mini greenhouses next year. So that is taking cuttings from Aeoniums. Very simple and very easy to do.